Yes, that's right. The pelvic floor is not just one big slab of muscles underneath there. It's multiple muscles all interwoven. So we can focus a little bit more on front ones or back ones. They're all working in this beautiful synchronized way, and you can still focus more so into one area more than another. Welcome to Hope for Your Pelvic Floor, the podcast where honest conversation meets real evidence-based solutions for your pelvic health. I'm Claire Sparrow, second generation Pilates teacher, educator, and best-selling author. I'm here to help you understand your body better, move with confidence, and finally get the answers that make sense. Each week we'll bust myths, share insights from movement science and pelvic health research, and give you practical steps you can actually use in your everyday life. Because pelvic health isn't just about exercises, it's about reconnecting with yourself, one breath, one choice, and one movement at a time. So let's get started. Today's topic is Kegels miss the point, and whole body pelvic health doesn't. One of the questions I get asked most is really, what is my method? What is whole body pelvic health? So I'm going to share with you a little breakdown, the key differences between whole body pelvic health and the traditional approach that we're generally recommended, which is to strengthen our pelvic floor. Before we get into the topic today, I'm going to begin with my Claire shares. So at the beginning of each episode, I'm just sharing a little something, a little thought that's on my mind. And this week, I've been thinking a lot about the importance of asking for help and enrolling other people in what you're doing in the mission or the activity or whatever it might be. And it came about because I'm very excited to be hosting a wedding shower tea party for a really awesome close friend. And I was feeling completely overwhelmed, so overwhelmed with all of the things that I wanted to do to make it really special for her, but in not very much time I have available. And I thought about all the people who this person is important to, and I thought, really, actually, if I just reached out and let them know that they could help if they wanted to help, they might actually feel really grateful to be asked and grateful to be involved, because she means a lot to a lot of people. And it helped me to realize, how difficult it actually is. And I know I'm not alone. We feel so often, I think, as women, particularly, that we have to kind of suck it up and carry on and keep plowing through and do all the things. And we've got all the tabs open and we've got a full mental load, and we just keep plowing forwards. And I remember learning with a coach a really, really long time ago that generally we are programmed to want to help. On the most part, we are programmed to want to help and support other people. And if we're asked, we appreciate being asked. So I applied that and I asked for help, and I feel so much less overwhelmed. I feel really excited now, because actually, the things that I'm not very good at, some people are going to do on my behalf, and because they want to, and it's their skill set. And now the vision that I had for this amazing tea party is going to be even better because I asked for help, and it's going to reach the kind of potential, I think, of the event that I wanted to create. And I think for all of us, we can learn a little lesson about asking for help and enrolling people in our pelvic health journey even. And it might just be asking your friend or your spouse to give you a little bit of accountability to every week go to that particular class, or every week to do those exercises, or just to open up the conversation with other people. So this was my little Claire shares, and in the spirit of asking for help, I would like to ask for your help in recommending and getting this podcast out to more women. So as I sit here on my own talking to all of you every week, I'm not doing this process for me. I'm doing it to get this information out to more women who need it, just like you. And to make that happen, all you need to do is do a little review, recommend it to a friend, subscribe to it on whatever device you're on. And I know it sounds obvious, but it does make a huge difference. So I'd really appreciate if you could rate, review, subscribe, share it, do all of the things to help other women get this information. So without further ado, let's talk about, well, what is whole body pelvic health anyway? So whole body pelvic health, you know a little bit about my story. It's come about, I created it because of my own personal experience with prolapse and with some incontinence, and actually doing traditional exercises that made me feel a lot worse, that made my symptoms worse, and the diagnosis on its own even made me feel worse. So I knew that there had to be an alternative. And so what I went on to do was a lot of study, a lot of research, a lot of training into the science of fascia. This is our connective tissue. It's the organ of form and communication in our body. And it's the basis of biotensegrity, which is the way that the connective tissue, the fascia, is connected throughout our whole body, where when you move one thing, everything else is impacted, feels that. And it's so logical, absolutely so logical. The problem that we have is that fascia and biotensegrity are not the accepted norms. They are not, it's coming, I promise you, it's coming, and it's becoming much more accepted. But it means that the research that pelvic health and prolapse and exercises for our pelvic health is based on that more outdated medical model. And you can go back and listen to the other episodes in this series to find out a little bit more about that. But what I decided made most sense was understanding that the research made no sense into the way that we treat pelvic health. I looked at what does make sense, and that is the logic of the research into the whole body and the fascia and the biotensegrity understanding body-wide, rather than thinking somehow the pelvic floor is separate to everything else. And whilst there is some, because you'll have heard me talk about Anna Kroll's research, which is exceptional, and her achievements are exceptional, there isn't really any research into fascia and biotensegrity and this approach to pelvic floor rehabilitation. So we take the research in other areas of the body and apply that logic to the pelvic floor, because it all works the way it works. The pelvic floor doesn't suddenly work in isolation in some special way that the rest of the body doesn't work in. The fascia of your pelvic floor works in the same way as the fascia everywhere else in the body. So it's silly to think that we need to have specialist research in that. I mean, it's not silly. It would be great if we did. But right now we have to accept there isn't, and therefore we have to apply the same logic. Deep breath. That's a lot. It's huge, and maybe I need to do another one about this sort of specific anatomy, but I want you to understand that we're applying the logic from elsewhere in the body to the pelvic health. So that's the fascia and biotensegrity kind of approach and why it's different. And now also it's important to say that there's a real bias in all of the studies, the studies. When I say all of the studies, what I actually mean is the studies that recommendations are being based on. There are some other studies like anacrols, which I'll link if I can in the notes, but the recommendation to do strength exercises, which is what we're generally being told, is based on the bias that your pelvic floor is weak. So the research and the studies go, okay, the pelvic floor is weak, therefore we must strengthen it. Therefore, all the research is focused in that way. And it causes us to stop and think for a second. So I went, okay, well, what do I understand weakness to be? So for whole body pelvic health, my understanding of weakness is because there is something stopping your body and your brain being in communication. And we call that a neural pathway. So if there's something breaking that neural pathway, think about it like a kink in the hose. You need to undo the kink in the hose for the communication, for the water to flow. Whereas what we're going is we're going to where the water should come out, but it's not, and trying to resolve that. But that's not what the problem is. It's not a weakness. It's a breakdown in that neural pathway. So whole body pelvic health works on the premise that when the body is in balance, and it is designed to be in balance, it's also designed to heal and function by itself. So if we restore balance, therefore communication, neural pathway restored, then the pelvic floor can step up and function. That's what the weakness is. The weakness is the neural pathway. And so no amount of trying to squeeze something is actually going to solve the cause of the problem and the long-term result of the problem. Being out of balance is such an important part to understand about the whole body pelvic health method. Being out of balance could be posture. It could be posture from all day being in a chair shape. It could be from using a mobile phone frantically all the time and having your head really forward. It could be from sitting and compressing your pelvic floor. Being out of balance could mean that you had your hip replaced. It could be that you've got an unstable pelvis. It could be all manner of things all over your body that's out of balance, that stops that neural communication, that neural pathway, and therefore has the experience of being weak. It's not that. The muscles can't get strong if the signal isn't there. We need to rebuild that signal to rebuild the strength. So in whole body pelvic health, that's what we do. We restore through the key concepts of whole body pelvic health, which is breath, release, and range of movement, range of motion, which all happens first, way before we start working on anything to do with traditional strengthening types of movements. So we restore the balance. We make sure that you're breathing fully, normally, and you're not holding your breath. You're not in a state of stress breath. We release any tension that you might have in your body holding you in a posture somewhere, whether it's your head and shoulders, whether it's your pelvis, maybe it's your feet, and we release the tension that might be holding you there, preventing your communication and preventing the pelvic floor from working. We get really in there with the range of motion. So we make sure that your hips are moving fully. We make sure your feet and ankles are moving fully. We make sure your spine is moving fully. We make sure everything is balanced, moving optimally, so that your pelvic floor can be dynamic, responsive, alert to whatever the activity is, whatever the load of your life is, whether it's a jump, a sneeze, a run, lifting something, that it knows what to do and when to do it. So that's your concepts of whole body pelvic health. Maybe it would be a good idea to try some of these. You know, I like to give you something practical. If you're driving, maybe not now, at another time might be better. The first one is breath. So often, and I feel it a little bit today because I'm quite sort of excited about this topic, we're breathing up high in our chest. It's stress breath, and we're not breathing down into our belly. So what I want you to do to help you get the breath in is to get the breath out. We're stuck up here in the high breath, in the chest, in the shoulders, in the collarbones. So breathe out fully. Breathe it out. Let it all go, 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 go. And then the inhale becomes a reflex, and straight away I could feel my belly get bigger there with the inhale. And it's not that I'm trying to push my belly and distend it, because that's not what diaphragmatic breathing is. You can push your belly out and in and out and in and actually still not be affecting your diaphragm and moving your diaphragm. And that's really important to know, because I see this. Oh, someone told me I must do diaphragmatic breathing. And, you know, I see it with women that they come in and they show me, and I'm looking and I can see they're still breathing up into their chest, pushing their belly out, but actually not getting the communication downwards. And the reason we need to get the communication downwards is because your pelvic floor is down there, and it's deeply supported and stimulated by the breathing diaphragm. So you breathe out fully, 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 and the inhale is a reflex. Another great little trick that you can do, again, if you're driving, don't do it now, is that you can just rest your fingertips along the inside edge of your ribs. They just rest there. And then when you breathe out, you can just slump over, and just that light touch of your fingertips on your ribs will help you to release your diaphragm. So they're just light. It's not a poke or a push. You're not being vigorous with yourself. I know the tendency. You literally just slump, bad posture, and your fingertips will just massage into your diaphragm. Really, really simple way that you can do a diaphragm release. And notice, just having done that, it will make more movement available to you with your diaphragm. Another great movement to look at the range of movement that I really like to recommend. You know, if you're working at a desk or even just sitting in a chair somewhere, if you're working at a desk, placing your hands on the desk, pushing down on the desk and rounding your back. I call it seated cat. And then pulling on the desk to lift your chest up and go the other way, and just oscillating between those two places. The other thing you can do is just put your hands on your thighs, push and pull on your thighs to help do the same thing. And you're really rounding your whole spine when you do that. So we've got breathing out fully and letting the inhale be a reflex. And then you've got your diaphragm release. So we let our fingertips slide in on the exhale and slump. And then seated cat stretch, which I absolutely love. I do these a lot when I'm going back-to-back Zooms. I just do a few of these. I also like a spine twist, so why not have a spine twist as well? Hands on your heart and twisting round. That's another really, really good one for range of movement. So we have this ideal scenario that we bring balance back. That's our whole body pelvic health. We bring balance back, and the pelvic floor knows what to do, except it doesn't. That would be our ideal, that it would know what to do. Often though, because we're not talking about what we're going through, and you can come and talk to your heart's content in our monthly pelvic health cafe. If you really need to talk, please do join us. It's so important that we talk, because what happens is the pelvic floor condition that we're experiencing becomes chronic. So it becomes longer than 8 weeks, which is usually around when something becomes chronic. And that means that the neural pathway needs some help. It needs some help to be coordinated or re-coordinated. So the ideal would be we release all the tension, we get everything moving, we make sure that our diaphragm is moving and we're breathing fully, and the pelvic floor goes, I'm awake and I'm ready for action. And sadly, when it's chronic, it doesn't always happen that way. So we actually need to help invite it. We need to bring it along. We need to call on it. And sometimes this, I think, is where the strength bit gets confused. We are thinking in whole body pelvic health much more about it being like the current of a river or a gentle wave. Your pelvic floor is there. It knows where it's going. It just needs to follow the current. You just need to encourage it along. And we do that rather than just overriding and squeezing and clenching, because that's actually not it. Squeezing is not really what your pelvic floor ever needs to do. It's more about coming in and up. I use the image of a jellyfish all the time. I've got videos of it. Like, that is what it's like. It comes in, it gathers in and up. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm doing the gestures with the hand. It gathers in and up. Instead of just shutting or clenching, it's a gathering up. So in whole body pelvic health, we use really specific cues as we do movements. So rather than just doing the cue of the pelvic floor, it's a coordination with movement that helps the pelvic floor understand what to do in then a real life situation. We use imagery. So a mental image has a much more fast action effect on those muscles than trying to just squeeze and talk to the muscles anyway. We also use props, different, I have my pelvic health, whole body pelvic health ball, the pink balls that most people have now, which is specifically designed to really help target the activation of your pelvic floor whilst you're doing certain exercises. And choosing the right exercise rather than just everybody doing the same thing. We're getting really specific with what exercise you need for your particular experience of your pelvic floor. That's a lot to take in. I feel like I'm racing through what whole body pelvic health is, but like I say, so many people ask me what it is, and this way it's just breaking down in the logical steps. And I guess one of the other things that makes it different is that I ask myself, like, I wrote a book, I do the podcast, I have a membership, I'm working with hundreds of women and Pilates teachers all over the world to be at the front line and work from the front line up. And that's the logic that I wanted to follow, really. I could have gone and done the research, gone to university, I could have got a study group. These things might still happen, but I want women to have results today. I don't want to wait for science to catch up, because it takes at least 10 years for the NICE guidelines or for ACOG to implement new research. So we're decades away. So for me, I wanted something that made sense and is logical rather than waiting for science to catch up. And I want to propose that as a question to you. Do you want something that makes sense now, or do you want to wait for science to catch up? One of the other big differences with whole body pelvic health is it is not a one size fits all, and it asks quite a lot of you. It's your body, it's your pelvic floor, and I teach you how to be the curator of your own pelvic health by providing a range of different movements and exercises that target your specific goals and needs. So instead of me being the rule maker, the Pilates police, or the pelvic floor police, or the guru, I want you to be the guru of your own pelvic health. Because one of the big things that pushed me to doing what I do is the fact that so many women came to me just desperately sad, desperately broken as a woman, and feeling like they didn't have any autonomy. They didn't know their body. They didn't trust their body anymore. And I want you to know your body and trust your body implicitly. I know that you have the tools to support yourself. And the feedback, I've had some beautiful words this week from women where they've told me they've just felt they have had exactly the right exercise to do, that this happened. They were sitting for a longer period of time and they came back and they knew exactly what they needed to do because we had worked on that together, that was there for them inside the Whole Body Pelvic Health membership. So an example of this would be that if you had urinary incontinence, for example, you would have specific exercises that might focus a little bit more about bringing balance back and the coordination back to the front portion of your pelvic floor. Makes sense, really, that we target the area that needs to improve its range of movement and its coordination. Or we're focusing on Prolapse Awareness Month this month. If you have rectocele, so rectocele prolapse, we'll focus more on the back portion of the muscles and into your glutes and into your hips. And yes, that's right, the pelvic floor is not just one big slab of muscles underneath there. It's multiple muscles all interwoven. So we can focus a little bit more on front ones or back ones. They're all working in this beautiful synchronized way, and you can still focus more so into one area more than another. I mean, it's huge, and maybe I do need to do a proper anatomy lesson podcast, but not today. But just so that you understand, because so many people, and I remember before I'd really done all this work, I didn't really think of it as multiple muscles interweaving with other muscles and being the only area of the body where muscles attach to muscle. It's ludicrous, it's meant to be so flexible because it's so interwoven and there's so much going on there, yet we just keep squeezing. But I digress. So it really, really is whole body, and we've not even touched the mind component, and this plays a huge part in how you're designed to function as a whole. It's a whole game changer. So your mindset shifts and gives you real hope, because there is hope when you shift. And I hope that just listening to this today about what whole body pelvic health is in comparison to Kegels, that actually that gives you hope, because your mindset is already starting to shift and recognize that there is something that you can do, that there's so much more to pelvic health than just squeezing and strengthening. So what I'd invite you to take away from this episode today is choice. I proposed the question earlier in the episode, and I want you to really think about and decide for you what makes sense to you. What is logical for you? Do you want to wait for science to work it out when they've been asking the wrong question for so long? Or do you want to just try something new, something that's proven by the results that hundreds and hundreds of women are experiencing? That's the question that I propose for you today. And I hope that you'll reach out and message me and let me know. You can message me on Instagram, Facebook, join the Facebook group, Hope for Your Pelvic Floor. comment below. Let me know, what are you choosing? What makes sense to you? And thank you, as always, for tuning in to Hope for Your Pelvic Floor. If this episode resonates with you, like I said at the beginning, please, if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs it. It really helps for more women to find the support that they really deserve. And for deeper support from me, you can head to wholebodypelvichealth.co.uk and explore all the offerings that are there. And you can ask for more from your pelvic floor. And I'll be here, your voice of hope, every step of the way. Bye, everyone.